Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Access City Council. I'm your host, City of Las Vegas Communications Director, David Riggleman. Hundreds around the city celebrate Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, and we tell you how Operation Santa Paws is making a difference for shelter animals waiting to be adopted. To talk about all this and a whole lot more is the councilwoman who represents Ward 6. You know who it is. Michelle Fiore. Welcome back. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
This is your first show of 2022. I know.
Flying.
I know. We're already at the end of the month here.
I know.
It's like,
it's crazy.
2022 off to a good start for you?
You know, it is. It really, really is. Couldn't be more excited. We have so much going on this year.
We got a lot to talk about on this show, too.
We do.
Councilwoman, let's jump in right off the bat.
Yes.
Redistricting.
Yes.
The lines have been redrawn. We're going to talk about why. We're going to show you the old ward maps.
Yes.
And then what the new ward maps look like. So this is what the city looked like previously. And then the council back in December voted to redraw the line. So this is what Ward 6 looks like now with the change. And Councilwoman, explain to the viewers why did the council go through this process?
So every 10 years, David, we have our census. And when we do that, we redistrict the whole state from, our council seats to commission seats to congressional seats to assembly seats to state senate seats. So everything is redistrict in order to make sure that we're even with the number of citizens we have in the state.
In each of those jurisdictions.
In each of the jurisdictions. And Ward 6, out of all 6 wards in the city, is the one that's growing the most because we have the dirt to build.
Yeah.
So we can build new homes and new condos and new businesses. So because Ward 6 grew so much, we had to take about 20,000 of my citizens and give them to Ward 4. Now I've got some Ward 4 folks. We sent letters out to let them know I'm their new councilwoman. And so that's what we did. So during the census, we are going to grow. So Ward 6 is going to grow and grow and grow. And eventually, David, I would bet, and I'm not a gambling girl, but I would bet that by the next census, we're going to have a Ward 7.
Yeah, because of the population growth.
Yes.
And as Councilwoman was saying, the idea is that all of the ward boundaries, all of the wards have roughly the same number of people. Your ward had far more than everyone else.
Yes.
And so the lines were redrawn to kind of even things up. Although, as you noted, you've got about 10 or 20,000 less currently than the other wards, assuming we know that area is going to grow and it's all going to even out very quickly. Then.
Absolutely.
But, it's an interesting process, and you mentioned this, Councilwoman, let everybody know if your ward changed, you would have gotten a notification in the mail letting you know that, hey, your ward has changed. You could go to our website and find out what ward you're in, subscribe to your new council members newsletter if you'd like. And you also sent letters welcoming people into your ward too.
We did. We sent a lot of letters out because we got some Ward 4 citizens into Ward 6 and actually even a couple of Ward 5. Yeah, so it was pretty neat.
Interesting stuff. So again, these will be the ward boundaries for the next 10 years or so, and then after that, we'll have to go through the process again. And as Councilwoman mentioned, might have to add a ward or two to the city depending on the growth of our community. So
absolutely.
When I first started the city councilwoman, there were only 4 wards, and then we added 2 back in 2000, and now we're up to 6 wards, but as you noted, we might have to add more as the growth continues.
Well, you notice our chamber has the space.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that was, you were thinking ahead. You were thinking ahead, absolutely.
That's right. Councilwoman, I love this too. Month of January, of course, we have New Year's, but we have Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. A lot of people may not know that. And of course, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And let's start with Law Enforcement Day. You were out there welcoming folks, just letting our first responders, especially our law enforcement of all types, know that, hey, we support them. It's a tough job, really hard job.
You think about that. I would not want that job. That is exasperating. It's physical. Most of the folks are great, but then the few that aren't, your life is in danger.
Yeah.
So I really believe that the Appreciation Day that we do for law enforcement, we need to do more of it because sometimes they feel underappreciated. And we need to let all of our law enforcement folks know that we're here and we love them and we support them. Because if you call 911 and no one answers, What are you going to do?
Yeah. And you'll hear police officers, our marshals will say that. It's like, sometimes they feel like nobody ever wants to see a cop around until you need one.
Right.
And then it's like, how quickly can they get here? And
Right.
So
That's correct. Yeah.
again, took time out to say thanks for the tough job that they're doing. And then also, Councilwoman, you also broadened that appreciation out a little bit, recognizing first responders in general here at the city. You posted on Facebook. You said, congratulations to our first responders for being recognized at City Council today for their tireless efforts to keep our city safe. And this was our firefighters, our city marshals, and also our court marshals, right?
And our corrections officers.
And corrections officers, too.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
yes,
they
yes.
have a tough job.
Yeah.
They have a really tough job. And right now, I have to tell you, in the pandemic, everyone's short-staffed. So we have to make sure that we cover everyone and keep everyone safe.
Yeah.
And again, just letting them know we love them and we're here for them.
Yeah, that was at one of our council meetings last month. And I think clearly the folks that were there, and of course they're representing their departments, very much appreciated the fact that you took the time to say, hey, we appreciate what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. So
Yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing people.
And it's interesting. You talk about this. Everyone's been shorthanded. COVID has been trying on all of us. So our first responders, they still have got to figure out a way to get to your house, even though they may be shorthanded.
Yep.
And so it's been a challenge
It's
over
been a
this
big
last
challenge.
couple of years.
Yeah,
So
I mean, from everyone, from our ambulances to fire, to our police, to our marshals, even corrections. It's really, and they are working
Yeah.
with folks that are sick.
Exactly.
And they
Every
show
day.
up every day.
Every day.
And they help the sick.
Yeah. Well, again, tough job, and they're still managing to get it done. Omicron it's spread wild and spread to a lot of people. Thank goodness it hasn't been as serious as the Delta variant was, but still a lot of people had to step away from their jobs to deal with having the illness.
I was sick for 17 days with the flu. I had to go make sure it was the flu, so I went to a doctor.
you did, yeah.
We took 10 tubes of blood. We did COVID tests 3 times in those 17 days. And it was the, I'm going to say it wrong, but it was the Haemophilus influenza. And I'm sure that's not how you pronounce it. But it really put me down to where, I kid you not, at 5 p.m. the cough would start and wouldn't allow me to sleep until about 5 a.m. And no matter what I did, hot water, salt, it was just 17 days. But, I go to my doctor all the time. We did IV therapy, and, we just made sure that I was good.
Then you're on the mend now. Here you are. So.
Yes. She said my voice will not be the same for a couple months because I cough so much.
Sorry.
Yeah, but it's all good.
But
it's
here
all
you
good.
are now. So.
Yeah, I sound like a smoker.
No. But I'm glad you're on the mend, and again, thanks to our first responders for making it all work during these difficult times that we're living in now. And then shifting gears here a little bit, this is interesting. The Plaza Hotel and Oscar's Restaurant, which is in the Plaza, as a new addition. Why don't you tell everybody about this?
So, I love preserving history, and I think it's so important. And when you think about Las Vegas, the city of Las Vegas, I'm not biased. I swear I'm not biased. But you automatically think of the Goodmans. You think of Oscar Goodman, Mr. Mob Attorney, the city of Las Vegas, mayor, his showgirls. I mean, the epitome of what Las Vegas is. And then we get Mrs. Goodman, right? We get our mayor, Madam Mayor Carolyn Goodman now. So by the end of her term in 2024, we're going to have 25 years of the Goodmans. And understand, it's not just the Goodmans served Las Vegas. The Goodmans changed Las Vegas. We have so much,
So
our
true.
downtown, just everything he's done.
The whole Renaissance
from
downtown,
Zap,
yeah.
everything, right? So when we look at this, and we started talking about statues, pre-pandemic.
I recall.
And I have to tell you, Jonathan Jossel over at the Plaza, he's one of my favorite guys in the whole wide world. I love that man. He was talking with me and trying to help me with the statues and doing all this stuff, and he got it done. And now we have Oscar Goodman and Tony Spilatro at Oscar's Restaurant, where it rightfully should be. And it's an amazing piece. They had
Now,
a dinner.
that's the iconic picture.
Yes.
When Oscar was representing Tony Spilotro,
Yeah.
and then there's the statue
And the sculptor,
and the
Brian
sculptor,
Hanlon.
exactly, yeah, who put it together.
So
and,
yeah, and Brian, David, just so you know, is famous, world famous.
Yeah.
So this sculptor isn't just sculpted; it's sculpted by Brian Hanlon. Who, and you look him up, and you see all of the superstars and all
he's done a few,
athletic.
just a few things out there.
Jerry
yeah.
Tarkanian.
Yeah.
I mean, he is. I would not have another sculptor do anything but Brian Hanlon.
So, and Councilwoman, if someone would like to see it, is it the
Go have dinner. Go have dinner at Oscars. You'll probably
where they
find
are.
me there at the bar. So I love my Shirley Temples, and go have dinner, and it's right there. And take a picture with it, and it's just the coolest statue ever.
Yeah. Well, it's again a piece of history and an iconic photo now turned into statues.
Yeah.
And then, Councilwoman, again in January we had Martin Luther King Day. You posted this on Facebook. You said, "What a great time at the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade. Beautiful weather for it this year. Probably a big crowd out there, but maybe not as big as we've seen in the past. It's a huge parade generally. The pandemic has obviously toned things down.
It has. It's taken its toll on the folks coming out.
Yeah.
You know, people are still, you know, they really have not gotten over going out. You know, and it's sad because, you know, I have to tell you, through the whole pandemic, I never stopped what I was doing. Never stopped any of my parties. Right? We just did them outside, and we did them differently, like a drive-through Easter.
I remember your Easter baskets.
Everything.
The kids drove through with their parents.
Easter, our senior socials. We didn't stop anything. We just changed the way we did it.
Differently. Yeah, that's
I
so
never
true.
stopped coming to work. I never stopped serving the people, and I think, you know, so with people that, you know, literally stayed home, it was a lifestyle change, right? It was a lifestyle change. And so I don't, you know, and having a lifestyle change for almost 2 years, to now try to change it back and start, you know, getting out and going out and doing what you did, it's kind of tough.
Yeah.
So we got to just promote, like, get outdoors, like breathe fresh air.
Exactly. Well, the parade took place right when the Omicron variant was really peaking, and so a lot of people
were nervous.
Again, don't get me wrong, there was a very good crowd out there. But we've seen that crowd much larger in the years past. Yeah, exactly.
4 times, yeah,
So,
4 times.
Beautiful weather though that day.
We ordered the weather.
Yeah, it couldn't have been any nicer for, you know, middle of January in Las Vegas. It was a perfect day.
And one of the things that I really want to stress about Dr. Martin Luther King is, you know, if we keep canceling our history, we're not going to know what happened. And then bad history could repeat itself. So when we look at our historical figures, whether you like them or whether you don't cancel them. And you always take part in what the history is supposed to teach us, right? And one of the greatest things that Dr. Martin Luther King said was, don't judge a man, and I'm sure I'm getting the words not perfectly, but you'll look it up and get it perfectly. Don't judge a man by the color of his skin. Judge a man by the character. Yeah. And I want to say that out loud today as a white woman. Why? Why do I want to say that? Because you can't judge me because I'm white. You can't call me a racist because I'm white. You can't judge a black man because he's black. You have to judge a person's soul and who they are. So I say that, and I mean it. Don't judge your fellow human. Love them.
Yeah. That was Dr. Martin Luther King's message was we're going to get through all this with love. That was his main point.
Yeah.
So
maybe tough love, but we're going to get through it.
Yeah. So, well, hence there's a national holiday to remember him.
Yes.
And Councilwoman, hard to believe, another historic date, one that lives in infamy, Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th, 1941. It was 80 years.
Can you believe that?
Last month that attack took place. Hard to believe.
It's hard to believe. And now you think about that. 80 years ago, Japan did not like us, right? And now today we're friends, right? But we can't erase history. And let me tell you, our saving grace is because Americans are the toughest in the world. The toughest in the world. When the lieutenant went back to the emperor on Pearl Harbor Day, he said, because the emperor said, I want you on the ground, attack him on the ground. And the lieutenant said, we can't. Behind every blade of grass, there's a rifle. Why? Because Americans are armed. Like it or not, this was 80 years ago. So 80 years ago, they knew. When push comes to shove, when you look at other countries, and let's say they have more soldiers than we have enlisted in our military groups, don't forget the count of Americans, because Americans are, really armed and will defend America at whatever cost.
Yeah. It's hard to believe it's been that long ago.
80 years.
My father was a World War II veteran, and it's hard to believe that conflict started that many years ago.
80 years.
So, yeah.
I wasn't a thought yet.
Nor was I. But boy, what a tumultuous date. That started a domino effect. Obviously, the United States was at war with Japan, and then Germany declared war on the United States a few days later, and next thing you know, we're into this big world war, and everyone's lives changed.
Yes.
Some forever.
Yes.
Beginning on that day.
Yeah.
So, but good for you for reminding us. 80 years is it was certainly a huge anniversary of that day, and then New Year's 2022 got here.
I know.
And I still can't quite get my head around that. It's funny, Councilwoman. 2020 seemed to drag on forever, but 2021 just flew, and now here we are in 2022 all of a sudden. So
I know, and come February, it's going to be a special date, 2/2/2/2/2.
yeah, that's right.
Right? How many
right.
people are going to get married on 2/2/2/2/2?
Yeah, you know a lot.
Right?
Are.
Yeah. That's going to be a really special
We're the
thing.
wedding capital of the
Yeah,
world, and so
yeah.
that's going to be an especially big
Yeah,
day here.
that's
So
going to be a big day.
book your reservation
Yeah,
early if you haven't
yes,
already, because
absolutely.
it's gonna fill up for sure.
It's going to be. Yeah.
And then, Councilman, I love this too. Taking a quick look back into last month, right at the end of 2021, you were part of Operation Santa Paws, and tell everyone what this is and why it's just such an important effort.
So we really work hard on making sure we give to homeless and to our vets and our homeless vets and blankets and food and coats and stuff. But a lot of folks never think about our pets that are left behind. And especially, David, through the pandemic, when people had lost their apartments, their homes, and they had to stay in places where the animals weren't accepted. And a lot of animals got given to the foundation,
back to the animal shelter, yeah.
And so these animals, that maybe one time slept with you in your bed are now in a cage. So we just gathered a lot of blankets and we delivered them to the Animal Foundation. The problem with doing that is anytime you go to an animal place, you want to take the dogs
or
home,
cat,
right?
or whatever,
Or a cat or a rabbit or a ferret. So that's always a challenge. So this year I sent my little soldiers to do it. And of course, one of my little soldiers called and said, there's this pit bull and he's so charming, and Vegas, my dog Vegas, would love him. I'm like, oh, no. You take him to your house. But yeah, but to give the animals a blanket to sleep on, I just find that Santa Paws has to continue forever.
It's been tough. Councilwoman touched on this. During the pandemic, people's lives changed, their living conditions changed, and as a result, the living conditions of their pets changed.
Yeah.
And we saw that during the recession. People would lose their homes, they'd walk away from their homes, and they'd leave the animals behind.
I know.
And
that was
we
horrible.
saw the same thing during the pandemic. People would end up having to give the dog to the shelter, or back to the shelter even. And tough.
Tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
But showed them a little love with Operation Santa Paws, and I know you'll do it again next year.
I know.
But I know what you mean. Be careful if you go to the Animal Foundation for anything, because you'll end up bringing home a new fur baby.
You will.
For sure.
You will bring home a new fur baby. Yeah, I have 2 right now.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, okay, I got to be careful. There could be many more. So. And then, Councilwoman, also back during the holidays, you got to mention, this is a mainstay out in Ward 6. You posted this on Facebook. You said, Fantasy Forest is back and better than ever. I want to talk about this because when you were on the show last, we were getting ready to do the Fantasy Forest. And, of course, we were able to do it during the holidays this year. And, again, a little differently than normal, but there it is. It happened this year, this past year.
We always do. We always do it, and no matter what, So Christmas is just a really, it has a special place in my heart. And I just want to make sure that children through the pandemic, and even without the pandemic, sometimes there's children that don't get what others do. And I just want to be able to give them some cheer and some love and some toys. And I have to tell you, Christy Garnis, she is the best.
On our events team.
She
here at
is
the city,
amazing. She picks out, she knows what the children want. I don't, like, she knows everything. Christy Garnis knows everything.
Maybe the real Santa, I don't know.
She is the real Santa, in disguise as a beautiful woman, right? But she knows. She picks out girl and boy toys from 2 to 15.
Yep.
And as they come by, she knows what bags are in, which bags we're giving out. I'm so blessed to have folks around me that just make it perfect for everybody.
Well, it's a great event. It's a wonderful tradition out there. You've been doing that, God,
a long time.
Number of years.
Yeah, and so even before council, we still do it. So before now we call it the Fantasy Forest, but before council and even after council, we will always, like, St. Jude has my heart in Boulder City. Our Child Haven has my heart. And then we also give to another charity. And even it doesn't matter it's not in the city. It just doesn't. It just matters that these children get the toys.
Sure.
And we do that.
Well, and Councilwoman, you talked about this during the pandemic. We've had to do things differently, and the Fantasy Force among the rest. But you always figure out a way to. It's like, well, we can't do it this way, so we'll do it this way to be safe.
But everyone gets their toys.
Yeah,
and hot cocoa and cookies.
It's still happening. And a picture with Santa. So good stuff. All right. Well, Councilwoman, we are about out of time here. That always goes by fast, but want to tell everybody out there, hey, we always want to hear from you. So if there's something you'd like to share with Councilwoman Fiore, you can always find her on Facebook and Twitter. She's very active on social media. You can also contact her just by picking up the phone. We still do that around here, 702-229-6405, or send her an email. Her address is mfiore@lasvegasnevada.gov, and she or one of her great staff will get right back to you if you have an issue out in Ward 6. And so even if you don't live in Ward 6, you're not quite sure what ward you're in, they'll connect you with the right people.
Yep.
So well, it's great to have you on the show, and here we go in 2022. We'll have you back in 6 weeks with another update from Ward 6, and we'll talk about all the million other things that'll be going on out there.
I know. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
And again, if you have any questions about the redistricting, city's website, lasvegasnevada.gov, or call the councilwoman's office. They'll help you figure out what ward you're in. Our website, you can enter your address. It'll tell you what ward you're in now. Most folks, their wards didn't change, but if you were kind of on the fringes of the wards, chances are it did. And so I think we had about 42,000 addresses that changed wards in the city.
That's the number. You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. You know what you're talking about.
We're working on this, all of us. So, well, great to have you on the show. We'll see you back here in 6 weeks again. And we want to thank you for joining us. Our next Access City Council show begins airing on February 3rd with Ward 1 City Councilman Brian Knudsen. You can now catch all of our KCLV shows on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire. And watch for our QR code in the closing credits of this show to subscribe to our newsletter. Also, don't forget you can watch us live on the internet at kclv.tv. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time around.